My dog wouldn't leave me alone. Okay, so if you want to become an entrepreneur or to become rich in the Philippines, there are two hurdles that you will have to get over and two enemies that you need to face. Number one is the Philippine culture, and second is education. I think Philippine education is designed to make students become employees rather than employers, to become followers rather than leaders, and to become servants rather than masters. Okay, so I grew up in a household where employment was actually the most important thing. So growing up, it was pounded in my head that I needed to be employed, get my own regular paycheck, pay for my bills, take care of myself. But there weren't a lot of discussions about entrepreneurship, about investing, about being a leader, or owning your own company. And I realized that that is a function of how they were raised. My parents did not grow up in a household where there were a lot of consciousness about being an entrepreneur, about investing. So my grandparents, that's how they were oriented. They passed it on to my parents, and that's how my parents raised me. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, they did teach me the value of hard work, but in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of investing, that wasn't there. It was only when I moved here that my perspective on money actually changed. I realized that a lot of I'm spending time with other entrepreneurs, the way that they look at money is very different. It seems like these are chess pieces for them, and each chunk would have their own function, and they would deploy them using a strategy, and the end goal is for them to win. And usually they do win. So, but that takes some risk taking, and that is the one thing that we don't have in the Philippines. We always value security over prosperity, and I think it's a function of just where we came from as a society and as a country. A majority of the Philippines is actually still under poverty, and so the priority is for us to just be able to feel secure, just to get over the poverty, just have a roof over our head, food on our table, have education for our children. So that was the goal, because we did not have that. So the standard was actually pretty low. It was security over prosperity. Second thing is we always prioritize caring over profiting. So we have a very strong tie with our families, with our relatives. And so our priority is to help them more than making a profit. So when we have extra money, we tend to think about other people rather than think of ourselves. I love that value in us. I love how close we are to our relatives and our family members. But it does become a hindrance when, instead of being able to use the extra money that we have in entrepreneurship, we still offer that to other people, to our family members, so that we can help them in whatever it is that they need help on. Next is, we have a lot of stereotypes about investing, about businesses, and about money itself. I don't know if many of you will agree, but in the Philippines, I experienced that a lot. When you talk about making money, putting up your own business, it's as if it's a shameful or an embarrassing thing to want to become rich or to make money. It feels like you're greedy. They look at you as if you're all about money, you're all about greed. From there we develop a lot of stereotypes about certain things, like the stock market. I can't begin to tell you how many people have told me that crypto is a scam, stocks is a scam, that I'm investing on something that is not there, I'm investing on paper and stuff like that. And again, it boils down to, what is it that you're trying to make? If you're if you're just trying to make money, so invest in them, right? Because you're going to make money on them. Yes, there are risks involved, just like any other kind of investment. When you put up your own business, you're investing that in your own business, and there is a risk of that business going under. You become employed, there's a risk that you get fired. So we allow ourselves to get eaten up by all those stereotypes, eaten up with fears, instead of just going for it and taking a risk. Okay. Next is, in our education system, we don't put a lot of attention to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, which is very, very strange to me because we're good at all of these things. But our education system only teaches us the theories, the formulas, but they don't develop the appreciation for the potential of all of these things. There's very rare application. And so the result is that we become academically intelligent students, but we don't get far enough for us to use those academic knowledge in order to create new technologies, new developments, new businesses. So I hope that this new administration that we have will finally prioritize STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Next, since I'm already talking about the government, is that I hope we don't have any kind of support from the government. When you are a new entrepreneur, it's so hard to get funding. It's so hard to just put up your own business and run it decently. You have to go through red tape. I'll give you one example. I was trying to get some fabrics from the Philippines for a client here in the US, and so I asked my friend to attend this exhibit that was sponsored by DTI, and we found the fabric that I wanted. He ordered some samples right there and then sent it to me. I ended up liking one, and I asked him to order like thousands of yards of that, only for them to come back and say that they can't produce it. And like, why were you in the exhibit? Isn't that this the whole point of you coming to the exhibit, so that you can find the client? I am now a client, and now you're telling me that you can fulfill the order. So they said they don't have the capital to actually fulfill the order, so they wanted me to pay in full. I'm like, I'm not paying in full. I'm going to pay you whatever is right for me to put up a deposit, but I'm not going to pay in full. I'm not going to operate your own business for you. But it was just disheartening because the product was actually good, but it was so hard for them to get funding. There was no support from the government. Very, very few nonprofit organizations that's helping out new entrepreneurs. And then even when you actually ended up getting your product and you want to ship it to the United States, there were so many red tape. And I personally didn't mind paying whoever it is that I needed to pay, but it was just number one, it becomes so ridiculous that they are asking me to pay for more than what I would earn. And I'm like, this is unreasonable. At least if I do business in another country, in another Asian country, there is red tape, but I know that they know how much to charge me enough for me to still make enough money. Okay, so I hope the support from the government will develop, that they will think about small business owners and new entrepreneurs and support entrepreneurship as well. Oh, and even like Koreans that are here, they can actually loan money from the Korean government, and then they will just pay it in Korea. We don't have that here. Okay, next is I think I've mentioned before that we have very low standards because the majority of the country is still under poverty. And so we aren't expecting a lot. And when you're not expecting a lot, you don't strive for a lot. All we really want is to be comfortable enough to survive. We just don't want to miss meals. We just want a roof over our head. And that is causing us to not strive for something higher and something bigger. 7 is the training. We're trained to be employees. We're not trained to become employers. It's just how the education is designed. A lot of when entrepreneurship and investing have to be taught as early as middle school, preferably even grade school. We don't have that in our school system. We don't actually study the stock market in full. We don't learn to appreciate all of these tools that can allow us to earn money, to earn more money than what we're used to earning. So I hope that becomes rechanneled. I hope that as early as middle school, students get to learn what stock market is, the different types of assets they can invest in and how they can actually invest in them. Next, Filipinos are survivors, and I'm very, very proud of that aspect of our personality, that aspect of our culture. We're survivors. And that could be because of what we had to go through historically. We were colonized by the Spaniards, Japanese, by Americans. It feels like they never really left us alone. And so I think it sort of programmed us to become survivors rather than conquerors. We felt like they're always coming here to colonize us. We just need to survive. Instead of becoming one of those colonizers that would actually travel miles and miles, thousands of miles away, so that we can colonize other countries. So I think that has something to do with what we have gone through as a country. Number nine, it's very hard for us to trust anything new. We, I think it's because the country is still a third world country. We don't use a lot of technologies, so we don't have that level of comfort in dealing with new technologies. So cryptocurrency, for example, is such a revolutionary idea that a lot of people can't get their heads around it yet. And that goes for other technologies as well. It's hard for us to trust new systems and new things in place that will make our life efficient just because we've never used it before, we've never experienced it before. And so we don't become efficient. 10 is putting value in things. One of the things that I've learned here in the US is to make sure to put a monetary value in on my time. Like I need to, how much am I worth on a per hour basis? So this came about because I actually like cleaning my own apartment. It's sort of therapeutic for me. And one of the people one entrepreneur that I know told me, like, you're wasting like thousands of dollars cleaning your own apartment. In my head was like, no, I'm saving money because I'm not paying another person to clean my apartment. And he said, that's not how you do it. You need to price yourself. Like, how much are you worth per hour? So let us just assume like you're worth $1,000 per hour and you end up cleaning your apartment for 8 hours. Then you just wasted $8,000 because instead of working, you spent it cleaning your house. I never look at things that way. Even relationships in the office, I don't really put monetary value in that. But with the people that I'm spending time with, I realized that if you want to become efficient in the use of your resources, you need to put a monetary value in that. Okay, so what did I do to get over this, to finally put up my own business and to finally start investing? One is I allotted a certain amount to invest on a regular basis. So whether that is going to be for business or for investing, I computed exactly how much I need at a minimum in order to exist, to live, rent, food, bills, and stuff like that. And then whatever is the excess from there, I decided how much of this can I tolerate to lose? And that's what I invested, either on the stock market or whatever, or for the business that I'm starting. So I allotted a specific amount of money and I disciplined myself to start investing it regularly. And that's related to my second point, that I invested whatever I can afford to lose. There's no amount of money that will not hurt when you lose them. Especially for somebody like me, I'm not rich, I'm just starting out. Whether it's $1,000 or $1, it's going to hurt if I lose it. But I decided on the amount that I can tolerate. It may be painful, but it will not sink me into nothingness if I lose it. Next is I just developed some amount of ruthlessness, and that's just a fact. If you want to become a businessman, if you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to allow your brain to work more than your heart. And so if somebody is not working out for the company, I will fire that person. I will try to get as much as I can. I will put my own business first before I think about any other business. If I have to do that, if I want to grow, I need to prioritize myself because others will prioritize themselves. Okay, next is I had to get out of the box and be open. It's very typical as I've said in the previous points that I've mentioned, it's very typical for Filipinos to not entertain anything new. We're not used to it, but I had to force myself to be open. I don't allow myself anymore to be obsessed about one side of the story. So if there's a new technology presented in front of me, I will make it a point to read about and study about the good sides and the bad sides. And then from there, actually make an honest assessment if it is something that I can do for me. All right. Next is I had to get over the stereotype of people wanting to make money. I'm one of those people who thought that if somebody's trying to become rich, it's all about greed or whatever. It's not, just because you want to make money doesn't make you greedy. You just want to make money, enjoy the good things in life, and there's nothing wrong with that for as long as you're not hurting anybody. And so I had to get out of that mentality as well. I had to accept the fact that I want to make money and that I'm trying to do it, and that's okay. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Next is I had to imagine myself. I had to visualize myself actually owning my own business and becoming the owner rather than just an employee. As I've said, when I was growing up, just the thing that I knew I had to do was to become employed, get a regular paycheck, get promoted, get a raise. But I had to stop imagining that and concentrate on actually owning a company. Okay, next is I just started. There's really no other way to go around it. I had to start somewhere, so I just started. Like this business that I have with my niece, when we said, okay, what if we start selling goods from the US and sell it in the Philippines? The only way for that to work is if we can start. So just start. And this is connected to that previous point, and I knew that there's a huge possibility that I will fail, and so I just need to fail harder. So that is not an original. It came from a Nike advertising company. I think there's a huge writing on their wall that says "fail harder," and there's a very good subtext to that, because you have to try. For you to have a shot at winning, you need to try. But you also need to entertain the thought that you will lose. But that is not an excuse for you to quit. So the thing that you need to do is just to try harder. And when you try harder, then you will fail harder. So the idea is to just keep on failing harder and harder and harder until you succeed. And last is that I hope we get a government that will support entrepreneurship. I hope that we get a government, maybe it is this government, that will finally fix the justice system in order to discourage people from making other people or cheating on other people, especially small business owners. If you have a strong justice system, then you know that you will be protected as a small business owner when dealing with bigger companies. And a government that will prioritize education, will prioritize entrepreneurship, that will support different grants or different companies that will provide grants to other small business owners. And so that's it. I'm still very far from my goal. As I've said, I just started. I'm making some mistakes. I'm learning from those mistakes, but I am enjoying the process as well. So, if you have questions, if you have clarifications, go ahead and leave your comment down below.